So you said that so you started to say that you admired your father, your
When I was
ex-father-in-law.
28 years old, I talked my brothers into starting a business. We did really, really well.
Yeah.
My contribution, everybody contributes something to a business if you want to make it work. Well, my contribution was that wherever I worked, I could outwork everybody in that place, wherever I worked. I'd outwork, in other words, when someone was difficult to me, my way of dealing with it, to work so hard that I'd put him in a situation where he had to work hard. So they couldn't say anything. And what ended up happening, people would never want to let me go, or they'd keep me, like in my business, in the wintertime you get laid off. Well, I worked for a couple of companies. They'd almost keep me all winter because I'd do anything. I'd work and do anything. Um, so, I mean, that was my attitude. When I was in my early 20s, my uncle, who was in business with my father, said, "How come you're working so hard down there?" Because they sold 40 acres of land to this builder, John Keith. And I went to work for John Keith after I gave my sister a kidney. I didn't think I was going to be able to do the hard physical work that I was doing in the sewer contracting crew, because they cut me in half when they took the kidney out. They took 2 ribs out and they punctured a lung. But I thought that I couldn't do that really strenuous work. I was wrong. I healed, and I started doing it again with the builders. And so, anyways, he'd say, "Why are you working so hard?" I said, "Well, when I have my own business, I'm not going to suddenly be a good worker. You're a good worker or you're not a good worker. And I enjoy getting things done." And when I was working for John Keith, I went to work for another builder, Doug King, who built in Easton. And after 3 or 4 months, I got a phone call from John Keith and said, "You got to come back." I said, "Why, John?" I said, "What do you want me back for?" He said, "Nothing's getting done. You've got to come back and start working again for me." So I did for a short time, but by that time I was 28 years old, and I wanted my own business. So I started. I bought a small machine, and my older brother went in partners with me. We bought a little dump truck. We bought a little skid. I bought a little skid steer myself, and then my brother bought another backhoe, and then my for a couple of years that went on, and my brother was working for my father, and he said, "Look, just establish the business, and I'll go in with you when it's time." Well, then my other 2 brothers, I talked them into it. And my father wanted to semi-retire, so we started a business. Now, we were kind of in competition with my brother's, my father's brother, my Uncle Ralph. And my Uncle Ralph didn't like it that I wanted to have my own business. For whatever reason, I could never understand it. Because he had a lot of money, he had a nice equipment, I had nothing. All I had was the will to do the work. But he had all the right equipment, he was older, smarter, richer, and he would go around to tell everybody, "I'm going to put these guys out of business in 6 months." Well, that never happened, which in a way, I thank him for that. Because the more determined he was to put us out of business, the more determined I was to succeed. So in that respect, nothing was really handed to me. I had to work for it. But the things that were made easy, my father gave us some of his equipment that he got from the partnership that he was in business with. And in that respect, that gave us a huge help. And my father being there was another huge help because we gained on his experience. But what I contributed to the business is that I would try and every day I'd work 110%. If I would, like for instance, if we got a pile of loom, I'd get on the low bed, load the loader on the low bed, bring the loader to the pile of loom. My brother Raymond would load the trucks, would buy the pile of loam to screen. I would go back and get a trailer, I'd detach the low bed, make just as many loads as everybody else, and then go back and pick the machine up after it was all done and bring the machine back home. So I would work harder and more than anybody else because I could do it. I was physically and mentally capable of doing it. and I did it. So that's how you build a business. You don't build a business by saying, oh, he's working harder than me, therefore I'm not going to work as hard as them. I put my nose to the grindstone and just give it all I got all day long, every day, all right, until it works, until you have a business. And it takes a while. It takes a while until you get established. And the only way you get established is by outworking everybody and doing whatever it takes to get there.
So would you say now that you have, I mean, you have had a business for years, that you have an established
No,
business?
because when me and my brothers, we made a lot of money. And then we were in business for 23 years. And then I went through another divorce. I divorced my brothers. We went from 4 people owning the business to 2 people. 2 of my brothers went their own way. And I established a business with my older brother. Then I went through another divorce. Me and my older brother split up. But it wasn't a mean type of thing. We all agreed about what we were going to get. The problem is, when you split, now you got to establish a new business all over again. And it's never the same. So now you got to work hard. He went in business with his son, which was great. He kind of semi-retired. I went into business with my son as far as building the houses. And I did the excavation with me. I bought excavation equipment with my son. But he couldn't really come and help me, but he did his part. He would talk to people, get jobs, and help me fix the equipment by, contacting a mechanic or doing what he could do, because he can buy stuff pretty reasonable. So he did his part, and that was fine. Didn't bother me, because I knew how to do the jobs and all that. And it was transitioning from a large business down to a smaller business where I am right now. And I'm enjoying myself. I come and go as I please. I do what I want. The restrictions are ones that I make. But I enjoy building a business for them. Every day, I try and do something or get something done. Nobody tells me what I have to do. I do it because I think that's the right thing to do at the time.
So if tomorrow, I don't know.
Tomorrow I'm
if you
thinking about if
couldn't-
it don't rain, I'm going to screen loan.
Right.
Or
But
I
if
got to
you-
go
for
to the
t-
house. I
if-
got to put
yeah.
a little
So
concrete
if
slab.
tomorrow you couldn't work at all, just
If I
you
was
decide-
handicapped,
well, that or you just, I don't know, you decided I'm gonna go to Miami Beach for 6 months. Can you afford to not work?
if I get, what, my own personal lifestyle, yeah, because I'm a very simple person. I don't require a lot of money to live my own life. My own life. I help people around me, which puts the burden on me to keep working, but that don't bother me, because I enjoy that. So, I mean, if I just had to take care of me personally, I own my own house.
Well, so I'm just a little curious, at your age, you're divorced and your children are all adults,
Right.
is there anyone that you have to take care of?
My
other than
youngest one,
yourself?
because her kids are, she doesn't make a lot of money, but she goes to work every day. And he's not working, but he's a stay-at-home mom. Like, he's watching the kids all summer when she's working. And it's expensive to raise kids today. And she doesn't have a college degree, but she works for a nice company. The company she works for is, they'll want her there her whole life if she's willing to stay there. And she'll get a nice 401k and all that. So it's a great company in that respect. But she's not going to make $100,000 a year, like you probably requires. If you don't buy a house today, I think you got to make over $100,000 a year. It's just an average house, in my estimation. Like, I have one daughter. She's a physical therapist, and I educated her all through Catholic schools, Catholic high school, and 3 years of physical therapy. And I spent a fortune on her, but she's making $35 an hour. She's just got a job. I think $36 an hour. She called me up and told me I got a job offer, so she can make really good money, and her husband makes decent money.
So how does your other children feel about the one child living at
They
home?
like it. They know what. See, her problem was, Kayla got caught up in the divorce. She was like 12 years old when this all happened, and emotionally it destroyed her. She wanted her mother she wanted her mother there. Like my other daughters had their mother, but Karen decided to leave. Not only me, she kind of left the family. She took Kayla along, but she really wasn't a mother to her. So I mean, that destroyed her. And Kayla went down a bad road, and I put her in a high school out in New York that was very almost like a military type of thing,
Okay.
and it got her off drugs, and it really stopped where she was going. With the help of her sisters brought her there. She thought she was going to New York. We saw what was happening to her, and I wasn't going to visit her in the graveyard. I was going to do something, and you couldn't help her in Massachusetts because she was, I think, 17, and that was 16 or 17. I think 16 at the time, and that was in this state you can't help a kid at 16. They're too old. But in New York you could. So I enrolled her in Ivy Ridge Academy, upper state New York. Very expensive, but I mean, what are you gonna do? I made a decision. I was gonna try it, and I did, and I think it worked. And I know it worked. It helped turn her around. I couldn't do it. I could not help her. She was like lost. It's a terrible thing because I raised all my other daughters. Had a profound influence on them. But it takes two people to raise a kid right. When one's trying to do it, it's like you got everything against you. Especially if that one person that you're trying to raise, it went through a traumatic situation. And unfortunately, I got through it. That was another really tough thing that I had, to be a Mr. Mom to my daughter when she was all messed up. That was very, very difficult. I had minimal help from my ex-wife.
So, what kind of drugs was Kayla?
I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know.
And are you sure? Or do you feel comfortable that she's sober now? Or?
I see her every day, and she goes to a therapist every week. So she's always involved in trying to be better. And then some of the comments she makes about her situation, and some of the comments that, like my accountant, he saw it. One of my accountants, he saw where she was and where she is now, and he said it's like a miracle. She's come such a far way, such a long way from where at the point she was and where she has gone. And she interacts with her two kids. She's a great mother, and she works full time. I mean, and they love her at work. She does a good job there, and so I feel very lucky. She takes care. She does all my laundry. She calls me all the time, see where I am. Wants to know what I'm doing.
So are you comfortable that do you see this as a forever thing, or are you?
I think, to tell you the truth, as the kids are young, she needs this situation. But as the kids get older and more independent, things are going to change.
And how old are the grandchildren?
They're 6 and 8.
So they're school age.
Yeah, they're school age.
So have you two talked about a time when she needs to be on her own, or?
Once in a while, she put in for housing, but the problem with housing, they know that she lives with me, so they're not pushing it. If she was out in the street destitute or was an illegal alien, she'd have a great chance of getting housing. But because she lives with Dad, they said it's going to take a long time before she can get it. But to tell you the truth, I like having her there.
Okay, so you're comfortable.
I'm very comfortable with her.
So, and your other children don't seem to mind that
Not
she's
at all.
there?
And even if she ends up at the house, they said they don't care.
Okay, so you've already kind of.
I've told them. I said.
Have you made that decision?
It says in her financial situation. You got to understand this. I've helped every one of my other kids financially whenever they needed it. They can come to me, and they know they can come to me, and I'll help them financially. But not as a dependent, as a step up. Not as, I can go depend upon Dad, so make my life easier, mooch off of Dad. No, you're not going to mooch off of me. I'll help them if they're in a situation. That I don't have a problem with. But they don't regularly come to me, Dad, I need 20 bucks. Dad, I need this. Dad, I need that. No.
Okay.
They all make good money. The other three.